Good evening and welcome. My name's Lauren McKenzie and I'm moderating this webinar Q&A session on the proposed annual budget 2022-2023 for the Maribyrnong City Council. The Mayor, Councillor Anthony Tran and CEO Celia Haddock will be responding to questions on the proposed budget during this session. You can submit your questions via the Q&A function that appears on the control panel of your screen. As a moderator, I will read the questions and ask the Mayor and the CEO to respond accordingly. We will aim to answer as many questions as possible live this evening. Those that are not answered during this session tonight will be posted on Council's engagement platform, Your City, Your Voice, and answered over the next few days. I want to remind you of the terms of engagement for this session. All submissions are moderated. Spam accounts will be removed. We want this to be a constructive Q&A session and hear from as many people as possible, so please keep on topic. And we welcome feedback and will accept constructive criticism. We'd like the discussion. Material that is rude, offensive, defamatory, or attacks people personally will not be responded to. Breaches of these terms and conditions may result in people being removed from the webinar. We're looking forward to hearing your views and responding to your questions. I'd like to now introduce Celia Haddock, Council's Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Lauren. Hello and welcome everyone. This is our third budget webinar, so it's great to have so many people interested. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional lands of the Kulin Nation. We offer our respects to the elders of these traditional lands and through them to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, past, present and emerging. Joining me tonight to answer your questions is Councillor Anthony Tran, our Mayor for the City of Maribyrnong, well, your Mayor for the City of Maribyrnong. 2021 has been another challenging year for all of us, and we've worked hard over the last few months to develop the proposed annual budget 22-23 with our residents, business and COVID-19 recovery in mind. As I said, this is the third year we're using the webinar format to facilitate this Q&A, and I hope you take the opportunity to ask us any questions you have on the proposed budget. The key details of the proposed budget include an overall budget of $207 million, $123.5 million to spend on services that we provide to the community, $83.38 million to spend on capital and improvement works. As a council, we're generating income through fees, charges, rates and grants of $152.8 million. A total rates revenue increase is at the rate cap, which is 1.75%. Please also take the opportunity to have a look at the information on our website about the budget and on the community engagement portal, Your City, Your Voice. Some of you will have seen the companion document, so please look at that on the website if you don't have it already. There are many ways that you can provide feedback to us on the budget or make a submission. You can continue to ask questions after this evening on the question and answer section of Your City, Your Voice, which will be answered until 5 p.m. on the 11th of May. I'll now hand over to the Mayor, Councillor Anthony Tran, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Celia, and welcome everyone once again to tonight's online webinar. Our annual budget for the 2022-2023 year continues to deliver a responsible and balanced budget whilst maintaining excellence in service delivery, providing a strong capital program, responsive to the growing needs of our community and supports the community as we embark on the journey to recovery from COVID. The budget has been developed in line with Council's long-term financial strategy and alongside the development of the Council Plan 2021 to 2025. We've heard through feedback on the council plan and annual community satisfaction survey that our community wants better roads, better footpaths, and more trees, facilities, amenities, and services, especially for the young, the aged, and the disadvantaged. The proposed budget of $207 million includes a capital program valued at just over $83 million. In this proposed annual budget includes $12.1 million for major projects, including a new community pavilion at Henry Turner South, the Henry Turner South Pavilion in Footscray, and upgrades to the Joseph Road public realm. $19.588 million to improve council-owned roads and laneways. Approximately $9 million for parks, open spaces, reserves, and streetscapes in capital improvements. Approximately $4 million for bike infrastructure, as well as $1 million to improve and build and maintain new footpaths. Another $2 million for recreational, leisure, and community facilities, and finally $2 million in subsurface drainage improvements. This enables us to operate in a way that ensures long-term financial sustainability while still delivering the essential services our community needs. We have worked diligently, and our team, I might give them my thanks for working so diligently as well to meet the needs of the community while keeping rates at a reasonable level. Now is your chance to share your thoughts, your suggestions, as Lauren stated, your criticisms, hopefully your helpful criticisms on our proposed budget. I know we have already had a series of questions come through, so I think I'll hand it back to Lauren to get us started on these questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A reminder that you can put your questions in the Q&A function. So we have had some come into us earlier. So the question is, ensuring our community has access to arts and culture activities and programs is important. So how much money is council proposing to support these initiatives? Mr. Mayor, if I hand to you.
Thank you very much, Lauren. So council is proposing approximately to spend $1.4 million to support a range of arts and cultural programs and local arts organisations, plus commitments to maintaining public art, investing in new public art, and providing support to a number of arts-related festivals. As we know, arts is a large part of what makes the city of Maribyrnong the city of Maribyrnong. They will continue to be a vital part of what is a part of our identity as a city. Thank you very much, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we are currently engaging on the festival's city policy and to support that ongoing delivery of festivals and events for the city. That's on your City Your Voice for those who might also have an interest in that. Active modes of transport like walking are important to our community. As you were both aware, CEO and Mr. Mayor, that was focal in our annual community satisfaction survey. How much is council proposing to spend on footpaths? Again, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Lauren. I might actually pass this one to the CEO if possible.
Sure. Well, the short answer is we will be spending a total of $2.3 million on footpaths. We know our community love getting out and about, walking around the city. We have many trails, and our priority is keeping our community safe while they do this and to ensure the city is accessible by all. So as I said, we have allocated a total of $2.3 million for footpaths, with $1.6 million in capital projects to create new paths and $700,000 to maintain footpaths across the city.
Thank you very much, Lauren.
So if we look at roads, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, this was another area of focus on the community satisfaction survey. Can you tell us how much money council is proposing to spend to ensure that they are safe and then they meet the needs of our community?
Of course, and that again goes to what council is all about, providing for our community. You know, we want to ensure all our road users, pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists alike feel safe on the roads, and that's why council is proposing to commit $19 million, as stated, to continue to improve and maintain the roads that council owns, as well as the laneways. As said by the CEO, we've seen that our community do love to get out and about, especially with COVID. You know, that ability to walk to your nearest park or your local shopping centre, whatever it may be. We want our community to be able to access them through every mode of transport. And of course, in our city, we promote active transport, being your cyclists, your walkers as well. And as such, that's why we've committed $19 million proposed to well, to our roads.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We welcome your questions. Please remember to put them in the Q&A function. There are some arriving for us now. So perhaps still with festivals again, Mr. Mayor, how much is proposed for festivals and activation in this proposed budget?
So in this budget for the festivals and the activations of our city, we proposed $1.64 million to support the delivery of local festivals and events that enhance and support our local tourism under the Festival City program. And this is in line with the tourism visitation strategy as well. We've seen the effects that festivals do have on our city. I know recently I was at the Holi Festival and a lot of our trades benefited from that, with people just coming off your streets to dine in the restaurants that are just conveniently right next to them as well. So this is why council is committed to our Festival City program, just as we've committed this much as well. Thank
you, Mr. Mayor. A reason why we're recognised as a festival city and have been for quite some time. If I can go to another question that's come in earlier, Mr. Mayor. So there are a number of major projects proposed for the 2022-23 financial year. Are we able to look at some of those, what those are, and maybe unpack them?
Sure thing. I might refer this one to the CEO if possible.
Okay, well, we have 1.64 million proposed to support.
Sorry. This one, yeah. Sorry. On the cards, yeah.
The major projects that have been identified, I know that we talked about them briefly in the intro,
we did.
CEO.
So I might just go over those. So we obviously have the Joseph Road Public Realm. We have the Henry Turner South Pavilion redevelopment. We have the Civic and Community Precinct, the Maribyrnong Aquatic Centre Splash Park, which includes, I must say, 2 water slides. We have our proposal for next, which is our fantastic project to expand the Footscray Library and include a community and cultural hub, which will include a performing arts centre for over 500 people. Not building that next year, but just hoping to do their detailed design, and the Cowper Street redevelopment. So the major projects proposed for next year equate to 41.3 million in the budget, and that's within the capital works section.
I might also just chip in a bit here, Lauren. When it comes to that splash park, these are facilities that we think our community deserve. Especially when it comes to next, the Footscray Library is a mainstay in the city of Maribyrnong. It is essentially an icon in our city, but it is long overdue for a makeover. It is long overdue for improvements. And as such, that's why council has earmarked that as one of our major proposals. And to be fair, this is something that we will collaborate with on a state and federal level as well. And through our conversations, I genuinely believe that this is something looked at on a very high level. The same with the water park. This is something that our community needs. The MAC has been, I know I live very close to the MAC, so I'm a bit biased in that aspect, but the MAC is a long-standing part of the Maribyrnong community. And to provide that extra service that the water park, the splash park, it means that our families can take the kids out closer to home rather than having to go out down to maybe Albert Park or to wherever else that has major swimming pools, so that they can, have that local family time. And we want to encourage that local feel, that community feel. And this is the best way that we can do that with these major projects as well.
Would it be fair, Mr. Mayor, to say that council has an eye on the future and its growing population with some of these projects?
Most certainly. So I'd like to call these ones the generational projects. These ones span over generations, and they will sit and do so. And then when the time comes, I believe another makeover, another shake up in the very core of what makes our city will come along. But at this age and time, these are our generational projects.
Well, one of those capital works projects is the Henry Turner South Pavilion redevelopment, which has sparked some interest. So there's been a request for a little bit more unpacking of what that project is actually about.
Of course. And before I even begin, I'd like to give a bit of thanks to Patrick Jess and to his team as well. They've done a fantastic job in relation to this in the past and even now. With that new pavilion, it will provide a modern unisex design facility accessible for people of all ages and all abilities. And it's proposed that $5.6 million is to go into the budget to support these works, which have already commenced and are due to be completed by early 2023. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, that's down near the Victoria University site, and it's clear as day where it's going. So please go down and have a look. And if there's any more queries, don't be afraid to ask questions.
The Max Splash Park works are obviously something that is quite exciting for our city as well in terms of continuing to enhance the delivery from our facility. So there are some plans there. Mr. Mayor, could you, or CEO, would you be able to provide some additional detail around those works?
Sure, and the Mayor might like to add, I did mention we have 2 new water slides that are going in down at the MAC, and an interactive aquatic leisure area is being added to the Maribyrnong Aquatic Centre as part of the waterside and splash park redevelopment. And this is a project jointly funded by Council and the state government. So the new leisure areas will provide activities for people of all ages and all abilities, will expand on the recently upgraded facilities at the centre, and funding is proposed to support completion in early 2023. We have $7 million proposed in the budget to support these works.
The works at Joseph Road, which is to support that precinct, are quite wide and diverse as well. So can we talk more about what we're proposing to put some money towards in this coming financial year that will improve the look and feel of and accessibility to that precinct?
I might add to this one, Celia, and if you want, please add to it. So the funding's proposal, a large range of landscaping and amenity works to improve the look and feel and the accessibility to the Joseph Road precinct, and that includes sealing the roads as well. Works will include fresh landscaping, use subsurface drainage, fresh asphalting, so sealing of the roads again, installation of new shared paths to connect pedestrians and cyclists with Footscray and the Maribyrnong River Trail. So all in all, those sort of works take up a proposed $6.6 million in this proposed budget. Again, that's a precinct that has been essentially given to council by a previous state government, but it doesn't mean that we let it go to waste. We don't let our residents, so we don't leave them behind. It's the best way for me to word it. And this is our way of showing that by providing the services that a previous government weren't able to do so, and we'll continue to look after our residents when and where we can, even in the smallest ways with amenity issues as well. Anything to add to that?
No, I think it's, as you've said, Mr. Mayor, Joseph's Road is extremely important, and we know our residents down there have had some really difficult times with the lack of amenity and infrastructure, and we're working on it right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, CEO. So obviously, our community has come through a tough time, as have many others, with the pandemic. The question that's come in is, how will we know that funding for pandemic recovery has met the intended outcome with the emergency management budget proposed for this financial year?
So we've been working on emergency management with COVID for the last 2 years, actually, Lauren, and last year the emergency management budget included funding for parts of the COVID-19 relief package, which is not in this year's budget because we're hopeful that we won't require that. But we are still providing a lot of support for business, and for people that did watch the City Development Committee meeting last night, we have a policy out for consultation at the moment on outdoor dining, and the council isn't proposing to charge any fees over the next year. We're currently doing an assessment to understand the outcomes of the pandemic relief packages that council's previously provided. And as I said, we haven't budgeted for those exact same packages, but we're hopeful that nobody will be left behind.
There was some interesting data from the community satisfaction survey in relation to our community's ability and their resilience through that pandemic, and the support that council was able to provide for that. So, Mr. Mayor, I know that you have said previously that still remains high on council's radar, the recovery and continuing to support its community. Yeah, of course, and those concerns are shared across the board, across the public sector. Of course, as a council, we have our own concerns about our residents, but after having my sort of conversations with the Minister for Local Government as well as city councils from across the state, the same concerns and the same care is still put in. I think what I want to, and not to sort of give ourselves a pat on the back, but the City of Maribyrnong have done a phenomenal job when it comes to that COVID recovery sort of side of things, when it comes to COVID management as well, in terms of providing financial assistance where it is possible.
for our residents. And I know when I came in as a first-time council, I made this that promise that just was unachievable for council, but somehow we've done it. Somehow we've really done a fantastic job of doing it, and that's just to sort of say that as councillors, we've come into a council that has done a phenomenal job under strong guidance under previous CEO, and now with another very strong CEO as well. But I think it will still continue to be on our radar for a long time with COVID management, with COVID recovery. I think one of the many things that we've done most recently as well is with the public dining. That's just gone to count. That was at last night's CDDC meeting as well, where we approved of an extension to the public dining facilities, and that, how that works and how the funding for that happens is another discussion entirely. But we've heard from our traders that that's what they're looking for, that they've seen that these outdoor dining facilities have provided so much for them in terms of the ability to have customers without the I guess restrictions of indoor dining. And such, we've extended it after we've seen the results, and hopefully that goes a long way towards this budget as well. Obviously, we haven't budgeted for the COVID-19 emergency budget, but with those additional pieces and those additional policies, hopefully we have managed ourselves quite well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Another of the projects that is proposed to be funded, the question has come in that relates to Hanson Reserve. So are you able to share some more information, CEO, on what's proposed in that upgrade?
Certainly. So upgrades at Hanson Reserve in West Footscray, and as you would know, that it's the largest recreational open space with sporting fields for AFL and cricket, has been allocated proposed funding to improve the quality of the current playing surfaces. So we want to enhance local sporting competitions and community use with new lighting around the ground perimeter to support nighttime use. So council has proposed 3.7 million for the 22-23 budget to support these works, and certainly would like to hear from the community about that.
Another question that has come in tonight, is there to be any increase in funding to neighbourhood houses and community centres, CEO?
So, Mr. Mayor, we did increase the funding for the neighbourhood houses last year, which was $5,000 each, and this will be it has improved their base. And we will certainly review that each year.
Thank you, CEO. We've talked a lot about some of the capital works projects that are coming up. One of the other questions, I guess, that's very strongly related to the pandemic and how our community has come through is what plans the council may have to support the business community. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you've touched on that in your previous response, but is there anything specific that we can point to, not just pandemic related, but that is designed to support our traders to continue to grow?
Yeah, of course, and with council. So there is a proposed $1.4 million for economic development to support our local businesses. And this is with the focus on the growth of both new and existing businesses, and the management of council relationships with its business community. We've seen how crucial it has been throughout COVID and even coming out of it when it comes to bringing the newer businesses as well as bringing them into the trades associations as well. We've seen how crucial it is. And this also goes a long way to support our partnerships with peak bodies and government agencies that provide advice on conducting commercial activities in the municipality, as well as the smart city initiatives and how council delivers its business improvement district grant program. I might touch very quickly on the smart cities initiatives and the big grant programs as well. I might go with the big program first because it'll be a bit shorter than the smart cities. With the big grants, we've seen how much they can do for our local businesses and the local traders, and the way that the big grants will be distributed this year and hopefully maybe years to come has changed. And you can sort of view how to get this big grant online. And if you're looking for more assistance, you can always go to your local trades associations. And after speaking to a few of the presidents of those associations, we've seen that they're more than happy to have a chat as to how they can assist you in that process as well. When it comes to Smart City, it's something I'm very excited about when it was first pitched on the premises that it provided our community, our business traders, with a piece of technology that they didn't have to pay for in the first place. This is technology that council has acquired, and it's free to the public realm. It's free for them to have a look at it and use as they will. It essentially provides them with the opportunity to see how spending is spent in a municipality, when it's spent, where it's spent. And I think that's really key in terms of how local businesses can market themselves, when they're marketing themselves, when they close, when they open. All these minutiae sort of things are assisted by council's sort of smart city initiative, which I think, again, is a fantastic initiative, and props to the team for even coming up with that in the first place.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. CEO, the bid process itself has been reviewed with an eye on the changing environment to deliver a better outcome. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yes, and we're also able to fund more traders and trader associations with that. So we've looked at, I suppose, at not just increasing the funding for that, but spreading it more widely. Yeah. So as the Mayor said, I'd really encourage people to go online, have a look at our website, type in BID grants, and you'll see the information there, and please contact us.
Thank you. So a questionnaire is referencing the Return Yourself to the Library campaign, which has launched on Council's Facebook page. It's a play on don't just return your books, but return yourself. Can you tell us what's the proposed allocation in the proposed budget to reactivating library spaces, programs and collections in the coming year, especially post-COVID?
Yeah, in a post-pandemic environment, all libraries will return to full operation, and we encourage absolutely everyone to make the most of these spaces and programs being held there. So over $5.1 million is being allocated to library services across the 5 locations within our city for the budget of 2022-23. In addition, we'll be adding $920,000 to support the library collection and another $200,000 on schematic design for the next project. That's the project in relation to the Footscray Library. Celia, did you want to touch on that?
And yes, we've mentioned that at the start as one of our major projects. So we are hoping to have a 3-way partnership between council, state government and federal government, and it's a future project where we're looking at it really being a $70 million project, a very large resource for the community, particularly with performing arts, regional library and community and cultural centre. And next year we're looking at the detailed design for that. So we're hopeful that other levels of government are able to support us in that and partner with the community in this project.
Thank you, CEO. The amenity of our city is important, and our community was very strongly supportive of our parks and gardens and our open spaces and the maintenance of those by our operations team during the pandemic. How much is council proposing to spend to ensure our city continues to look great?
Yeah, we understand your concerns, and we want our entire community to be able to feel proud about the appearance of our city. And in addition to our standard cleaning and waste budget, we have a proposed $190,000 to the installation of sustainable green street lights, as well as $516,000 to graffiti removal and $38,000 to street and future maintenance. Again, thank you so much for your concerns, and hopefully this does address your question.
And I might add, if I could add to that, Lauren, that the Mayor and I are about to do a walk through Central Footscray, looking at the graffiti. We know that it's become a problem, not just that problem's grown for us as it has for many other inner city municipalities. And we're working closely with the police, and we're looking at what kind of graffiti blitz we could put on the city to try and remove that and really clean up the way our city looks.
I might just chip in once again. In relation to the graffiti, which is a great point, Celia, that it has affected absolutely every single one of the inner city councils. So in relation to that, we've had conversations with in the city of Melbourne, the city of Moonee Valley, the city of Darwin. Every one of us has been hit by just a mass of tagging and graffitiing. And we understand how it affects our traders and the appearance of a city. And to address the question of the appearance of the city, we've all been looking towards how we can do a bit of a better job of clearing up that graffiti and how to prevent it in the first place. So believe me when I say that we're really looking at it and as to how we can deal with it on a more sustainable level, rather than just a straight blitz that will last maybe a month or two. Rather, we're looking for a long-term strategy that is developed across multiple cities, and that way it's a bit more sustainable.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Another question has come in. How much is council proposing to spend on trees?
Very good question. Trees are an incredible part of our community, and they ensure that we're ensuring essentially that the management and the continual growth of these assets is crucial. This is why we propose to allocate a total of $2.7 million to maintain those within our open space budget to continue the ongoing maintenance, the replacement and the new planting of trees across the municipality. And if you want more information about what we're doing in relation to trees, not just how much we're spending, you can refer to our urban forest strategy on our website as well.
And could I add to that, Mr. Mayor, that on the weekend, the state government announced their Greening the West strategy, and we will certainly, we've put our hand up for that, and we will be partnering with them on a new initiative to plant even more trees.
Yeah, on a more local level, I've agreed recently, I think councils have agreed recently to go down to the local Footscray High School to plant more trees with them as well. And we'd be the ones who provide the saplings in the first place. So, on an even more grassroots level, we're looking to do what we can where we can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, CEO. Still on the greening theme, I guess. The next question is, how much is council proposing to spend on parks and open spaces, given, as we mentioned before, it's been clear from our community during the pandemic that they are vital?
Yes, so I probably don't need to remind our community that the city's growing, and our population is actually forecast to increase by 67%. That's 67% by 2041. So we're expecting to have over 157,000 people living here in our 29 square kilometres. So to meet the needs of our growing population, we need to provide safe, sustainable and accessible infrastructure and amenities to support the entire community. That's why we've proposed to allocate $9.214 million to the improvement and maintenance of our parks, reserves, open spaces and streetscapes.
Thank you, CEO. The next question, which is also focal in our community satisfaction survey that our community has been asking, is, are you proposing to make improvements to footpaths?
Of course. Yeah, we know our community love to get out and about, especially walking around the city, especially through our many trails and our parks as well. And as such, it's been a priority for our community, for us as well. It's a priority for us in keeping our community safe while they do this. And we want to ensure that our city is accessible by all means of transport, whether you're walking, you're riding your bike, or you're driving your car. And as such, council is proposed to allocate a total of $2.3 million towards our footpaths as well, improving them, maintaining them, and if anything, adding to them as well if need be.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Another question, just changing tact ever so slightly. How much money is council proposing to spend on maternal child health services in the next financial year?
So we have proposed $3.7 million for maternal and child health and our immunisation services. And with a growing population, we're also obviously expecting more babies. And we are a very young population here in Maribyrnong now. Many councils are struggling with an older population, but our young population is the area that we're really growing. So this $3.7 million will support assessments and referrals for the key stages of preschool age children, for support for them and services for those experiencing domestic violence and children and families at risk, along with establishing and delivering new parents groups, breastfeeding support and a free immunisation program.
I might just know that I think council has, especially on a very high level, noted that our community is getting younger. Our families, a lot of younger families are coming into the municipality as well. These additional services aren't just ones that we've just picked out of thin air. If anything, they're services we view as crucial to ensure that our community, our families can live a life of not just convenience, but a life that is enjoyable. It is meant to be a livable, sustainable, enjoyable city to live in, not one where you're struggling to find the services that you may need. as our council has taken a step forward, looking into the future to provide for the present as well as those going forward as well. So thank you very much, Lauren.
So picking up on that comment around the increasing number of younger people, young families, the next question is, how much is council proposing to spend on teenagers?
I might take this one from you.
Yes, certainly.
In relation to that, council is proposing to spend on youth services approximately $1.34 million. And this includes services, events that support the development and well-being of young people aged 12 to 25, including those offered at the Phoenix Youth Hub, along with the delivery of strategic planning, advocacy, and partnerships. I can only hope that I'm included in that, as I'm still under 25.
And we know, Mr. Mayor, that youth is one of your focus, and that you are talking regularly with our young people in the city.
Exactly. And as much as I like to think I'm a champion for young people, I think the councillors in general have really expressed their take on young people in our municipality, and that they are so important and so crucial to our city. Obviously, young families being just as important, but your younger people, your high school students, your primary school students, your university students as well, are making a large portion of what our city is. We want to ensure that those kids who may need additional help, who may need after school facilities, after school curricular activities, is supported by council as well. And that Phoenix Youth Hub is so crucial to that. The services provided by them, the facility provided by them, cannot be understated at all. And I've seen the benefits they can provide to so many people. And as such, I do hope our community do see council's approach to young people being one that is genuine, authentic, and most importantly, having an actual impact on our younger folk as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps we could just dial back an age ever so slightly with the next question. How much are you proposing, is council proposing to spend for the younger children in our community?
Perhaps I could take that one. So we are proposing 1.17 million for early years services. This is to support the delivery of services to infants, children and young people, which includes things like administration of childcare and kindergarten programs, delivery of events, programs for children and new parents, the wait list for allocation for preschool places, and the overall delivery of the family strengthening strategy. So we have a number of providers in our city, both community-based and private, and we are supporting them to provide a number of services. We could still do with more. And I might just put in a plug for the new Billy Button Early Years Centre right here on Hyde Street next to Council, which will have its official opening, I believe, in the next couple of weeks, Mr. Mayor.
That is something we can most certainly be proud of. Council has contributed a large amount of its resources to that facility.
Almost 6 million, Mr.
Exactly.
Mayor.
Yeah, and obviously with a bit of assistance from the state, but I think we've contributed double to what the state have contributed. So that's
3 times, Mr. Mayor.
3 times the amount that the state have contributed. But it is something that we're very proud of, to be able to provide early childcare services and early childcare access to a lot of people who may not be able to get it in other cities as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, CEO. Question that has come in, how can the questionnaire find in these documents what protected bike lanes will be built with the $6 million?
I might tackle this one. So with the draft annual budget, the 2022-2023 draft annual budget, it includes $6.65 million to build and improve footpath and cycleways across the city. So this includes approximately $2.6 million for cycle upgrades in Braybrook, specifically from along Mellon Street, Lacey Street and the Melbourne River Trail, $1.9 million for cycle upgrades across municipality, including from Owen Street to Gordon Street. That's the separated bicycle facilities, and there are a range of other programs. But I must note that most recently I did have the opportunity to get along with the TAC and do a bit of a promo for council's new cycling strategies and new separated lanes. And that is a really good example of what they look like, as to with the markings across the bike lanes, the concrete sort of bollards that divide our cyclists from our motorists, essentially. But that's a good example of what our budget is going to when it comes to our cycling budget. It spans across a large range, but if you would like more information or the information I've just given to you to be put down sort of in a word format. I'm sure we can facilitate for that as well. The only reason being because there is a large number of projects that do go in to the Marijuana Bicycle Strategy 2020-2023.
Can I suggest, Mr. Mayor, that if people like to go to pages 68 to 71 of the proposed annual budget document, you will find there the full listing of all of the cycling strategy programs that we're funding next year.
Even easier.
So CEO, the Department of Transport is also currently providing some temporary pop-up lanes across the municipality with Council's investment also. Is this a reflection of the importance that Council is placing on active transport in the city?
Absolutely, and it's a priority for Council, active transport, and so we have 2 million of state government funds that have been allocated, matching our 2 million in Maribyrnong. So that's $2 million that Council didn't need to find that have enabled those pop-up bike lanes, and we're hoping that. So they'll be handed over to Council. So we'll be maintaining them, and then we'll be improving them as well. So that's been a really good head start for Council, and I think we do have just over 4 million for cycling paths in the budget next year.
CEO, may I ask a supplementary question? How much of it, how much have we spent proportionally more in this budget in comparison to previous years in relation to public transport?
In relation to active transport?
Yes, sorry, active transport, my bad.
Well, we've actually doubled what we spent last year.
Yeah. And
we've been progressively increasing it over the years, but we know it's a huge priority for the community. So that's why that area has doubled in this next budget.
Of course, and councillors see it alike. You know, I think a lot of our councillors have promoted for this as well, being community people themselves. They ride their bikes everywhere, and so do their kids. So it's been a very key point in our community as well, and for councillors alike.
So the Mayor and CEO are with us for a while longer. So if you have some questions, please continue to share them in the Q&A function with us. CEO, would you be able to provide some information around the proposed funding for the civic and community precinct, part of which we're sitting in the reception room of the town hall currently, which will undergo some refurbishment as part of that project?
Thank you. I will. And so we have 13 million proposed in the 22-23 budget to support the town hall redevelopment work. So you might have seen that described as the civic and community hub. So what we are doing is we're turning the town hall, the current heritage building, is having some upgrade and heritage works happen to it. So certainly not touching that structurally. But we will be building a new community-focused area, which we will have a 200-seat community auditorium that will be on the ground level where the current admin block is, and that will also have some office space above that. We will have probably 15 spaces for the community to use at the town hall and in the new building, and we're also transferring the front part of the property that goes onto Hyde Street, where the current community services building is, into a open space civic park plaza. So somewhere that locals will be able to use as open space, and also some that we'll be able to use for events that the council might run. We are aiming for a new 6-star Green Star building, and we'll also be constructing this using leading environmental sustainable building practices as we're aiming to lead to lower operating and utilities costs, fewer greenhouse gas emissions, and improved health and well-being of the occupants. So there has been quite a bit of consultation regarding the design and what people would like to see in this building. We've also been working with the First Nations, our local First Nations peoples, in regard to the somewhat the design of the building, but particularly the outdoor space. And we're hopeful that the final detailed design will be going to council for endorsement in June.
I might also note that with that civic precinct building, that there is a hope for a new auditorium as well. We've noted that in our municipality, there aren't many sites for our local school kids, our artists in general, to use to host a large audience. And as such, council's hoping to be able to provide that facility for our community. And hopefully that amounts to a 200-seater auditorium for our community's use as well. We've seen that that is a massive need for our community.
Mr. Mayor, we don't seem to have any more questions. Can I give a final call or through Lauren to the community, please? If you have further Q&As, we're very happy to answer them. And I see we have a few coming through now. So we'll get those in just a second.
Yeah,
so
please ask as many questions as you can, as you want. We would prefer to answer them through the webinar. Obviously, Your Voice, Your City platform is a very valid and very important part of our consultation process. But to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, I think is a little bit better than just getting a text or a message from one of our online responses as well.
CEO, in regards to the upgrade for this particular building, which was erected in 1936, it's quite a special building. You're correct in that there has been a lot of community conversations around how this redevelopment could look. What the community has said is that they want to retain the historic value of this building, but also see sustainable environmental practices employed, especially in the new civic administration building. From your perspective, do you feel that the designs are hitting that brief for the community?
Well, to date, I certainly do. And I know I haven't seen the final designs, and neither has the mayor and councillors as yet. But we had a pretty tight brief and had a number of demands of what we wanted, and certainly the preservation of the heritage building and the new 6-star Green Star building that's very environmentally sound, I believe that we have met. So we will soon be able to share that with the community, and we will then be putting that project out for tender, the construction.
Which is very exciting. Is council, so thank you for those who are still online and have sent through some additional questions. Question and possibly back to you, Mr. Mayor, on a follow-up question around Next, the library performance space. Is council still actively pursuing funding for this project?
Yeah, great question. And of course we are, obviously we've allocated, as stated, that $200,000 to support the schematic design, and we continue to actively and avidly advocate for additional funding. We have had chances and opportunities. I know Celia has been with me throughout this entire journey to speak with ministers from both state and a federal level about this project. And from our understanding, it has been something on the radar for quite a while from our ministers from both sides of the table, and of course from ministers who hold departments themselves as well. It will continue to be a part of our advocacy for as long as the project is in the motions. Honestly, from a personal standpoint, this project is something that our community deserves more than anything. It's not a passion project of mine, but it's something that is a passion project for council as an organisation. From the officers to the directors to the councillors, every one of us is invested in this project, in making it work. And we'll continue to do what we can, where we can, to make it work. And hopefully within the 12 months that I'm here, as a mayor, there's something that we can get done in terms of funding commitments. And CEO, I know you're more than committed to this project as well.
And I might also mention, Mr. Mayor, that we have active applications into Creative Victoria and also Infrastructure Australia. So we are hoping to be able to attract considerable state and federal funding that will be then matched by council funding, so that we can realise this really important project.
CEO and Mayor, we've answered a number of questions tonight across a variety of topics: capital works program, infrastructure, our community services. So a broad spread of interest across our portfolio. Now, as we're getting to the end of the webinar, would there be anything that either of you feel you'd like to add or expand on as part of tonight's conversation before we wrap up tonight?
I might pass on to you before saying my final remarks.
Sure. I think, look, it's a very exciting budget, 207 million, which is the largest budget certainly Maribyrnong's had since I've been here, and most of it, not all of it, but much of it is capital, and that's delivering actual infrastructure for the community. We didn't mention, Mr. Mayor, that we have borrowed $10 million from the state government to assist us with the civic and community hub. So, and we certainly have a financial plan to easily repay that. And while we've been through COVID, we've supported the community. We have still managed, we have not closed one service, and we've managed to keep our services operating. So the council has been very committed to ensure that we don't lose services or close services. So we've managed to do that. But I would say, Mr. Mayor, with the rate cap as it is, it does become more challenging for us, but that's our challenge. That's not really the challenge for the community. So
yeah, and thank you for raising that. Obviously, with the rating cap, it is something that council as an individual council cannot control. That is something that is dictated at a much higher level. We just have to abide by it. And to our ratepayers, you know, these are things that are well without our remit. We can advocate as much as we want, but again, it is something that's much left to the more senior echelons of government. That's the best way for me to word it. But I think to look at the brighter things that council is able to provide with its capital projects, you know, going forward, that $83 million put into it is again nothing small by any standards. For me, something that I'll be looking at, and I'm sure a lot of us will be looking at, are the FOGO bins. Obviously, it is a new service provided into us, and it is a part of the mandate provided by state. I believe it's state government.
yes,
And it is something that we will have to approach differently to our waste management services as well. Again, through my conversations with the Inner West City Councils, affectionately we like to call ourselves the M9, there has been many discussions about how we deal with this, you know, whether there is a new waste management system established, whether there is a new waste service established in general. But for our community, be rest assured, we're looking for the most cost-effective and most efficient way to deal with this matter. We know that for a lot of our residents who aren't used to this sort of FOGO recycling and compost situation, it is very daunting. It can be very daunting, but we're hoping to help those who do feel that way through the process in a manner in which is approachable and is accessible as well. I might also add to one of the many things that I love is the amount of things that are going indirectly towards our younger people and our younger families as well. Obviously, the Max Splash Park is a massive thing. Obviously, it is not allocated to the young people, to the early age care as well, but it indirectly impacts them, providing them with the extra services, especially with the biking infrastructure as well. It doesn't impact them directly, but rather indirectly as well, riding to and from school, to and from work, to and from university, whatever it may be. I just want the community to see that just because we haven't allocated budget specifically to a particular group, it does not mean that they haven't been indirectly impacted positively by something that council has allocated budget towards as well. So there is sort of this holistic view to how it works, not just sort of throw money at it and hope that it works. It is a very holistic approach that council does take to our proposed budget. And again, to thank the entire team at the City of Maribyrnong for their work. It is a behemoth of a budget and a behemoth of a document, but the companion document that we have in front of us here is your key to seeing what council's budgets are, and it's a more accessible key than what we have. I'll tell you that much. When we have our briefings there,
I think, Mr. Mayor, cost-effective and efficient are probably two key words that we're keeping front of mind in terms of thinking about budget. We did receive something in the order of 44 submissions in the early stages of the development of this document, and these submissions are open for further submissions from the public, so that you can do that through your City Your Voice. Thank you for your attendance tonight. CEO, would you like to wrap up?
Just to remind that all of our residents that if you didn't have time to put your question in tonight, we can certainly answer questions at any time. So as the Mayor said, you can put it through your City Your Voice, you can send us an email, you can phone us, you can put in a submission. So there's a number of ways that people have to contact us. And thank you all for attending tonight. I think it's been a great opportunity, and thanks for some of those tricky questions, which hopefully we managed to answer for you. And I might just hand to the Mayor to provide the concluding comments.
I too would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. It's been a great night, and hopefully we've been able to answer questions. As the CEO said, it has been a valuable night and valuable session for us as a council as well. Again, I encourage everyone who hasn't had a chance to have their questions asked or have their questions answered to go as to the budget, to go through the Your City, Your Voice portal again. Again, as much as we would like to answer all of your questions, if there is a question that you're dying to ask and dying to get answered online, then please so answer on the council website. But until then, thank you so much for being with us. Please stay safe and stay healthy and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.